Some people say you are what you attract. But that's not always true, because the reality is that you can be an amazing, wonderful woman and you're still gonna have damaged, toxic men come your way. And so what's more important than just what you're attracting is what you're entertaining. Now, mind you, yes, do we need to be mindful of what we're putting out into the world and how that can impact the people that we meet? Absolutely. But we do have to pay even closer attention to what we allow to remain in our lives and what we engage in. And the fact remains that there are tons of toxic, damaged men out there. Now listen, do not take that as all men are toxic and damaged, all right? There are tons of amazing, wonderful men. Seriously, I mean that with full confidence. I know it, I say it with certainty. But that doesn't negate the fact that yes, there are, one could argue, a growing number of damaged, toxic men that you have to be mindful how to navigate through. And the unfortunate reality is that many women, maybe yourself, has found yourself in a situation where you have gotten caught up with one, when you have allowed things to go too far. And so by doing these things I'm about to lay out for you, I'm gonna help you protect yourself, but protect yourself in the right way, because it just hit my spirit, so I have to mention it. Because a lot of people, especially if you're a believer, if you're a spiritual person, they use the mantra of guarding your heart, right? And I know that many of you are going about that the wrong way, because in guarding your heart, you've put walls up. You got walls up, you got snipers on the roof, you got landmines surrounding the walls. You are ready for anything, but ready in a way that only actually causes more damage, more hurt. That's why I say the same walls you have to protect you are the same walls blocking your blessings. So you have to be mindful of, the goal is not to operate in fear, all right? But it is to operate more in faith. And let me give you this analogy so you can understand. Think about being a driver. If someone is overly protective as a driver, meaning they're constantly looking out for getting hit, an accident, all these things, they're probably going to be a bad driver, because they're not focused on the destination. They're not focused on driving correctly. They're just looking out for all these distractions, not distractions, but potential crashes, potential hurtful situations, so on and so forth, come in their way. A good driver can drive and be intentional with their driving, but still be aware of their surrounding. All right? They don't have to be completely in a constant defensive mode. They just have to be aware. And that's what I want you to do. I don't want you to operate with walls up. I want you to operate with awareness and understanding that allows you to handle when things that aren't best for you come your way, but not to constantly be looking or projecting it onto situations when sometimes they didn't even exist. So let's get to it. The first way for you to protect yourself from damage or from toxic or damaged men while dating is to show up your most loving and positive self. Now listen, because I know some of y'all are like, hell no. That's exactly what got me hurt last time. No. Listen, being positive, loving, sweet, feminine, that's not what got you hurt. Who you dealt with, your selection process is what got you hurt. Your unwillingness to put up boundaries is what got you hurt. There's a lot of other things we're going to mention on this list. That's what got you hurt. But being loving and positive does not work against you. It works for you. And here is why. Number one, within this reason, when you show up as your positive, loving self, you increase your chances of a successful date for the first part, all right? And a higher chance of being able to connect with someone if there's something actually there. Because if you're coming in, again, too guarded, too negative, overly cautious in a way that puts a cloud over the experience, then you're gonna push a man away. And you may say, well, if he's toxic, then great. Yeah, but what if he's not? And that's the problem. Many of you have gotten so accustomed or so conditioned to the belief of toxic men being everywhere that you can't recognize a good one when he's in front of you. Or you won't allow yourself to believe he's that good. You will start to look for something wrong in him to validate your perception that all these men are just trash, all right? But it's not true. By remaining in a positive mindset, positive energy, being loving, again, you allow yourself to be able to create a better environment for success, as well as, believe it or not, when you are this positive and loving person and this person is toxic, there are many scenarios where you will actually push the toxic person away because now they can't handle all your goodness. Like, unhealthy people struggle sometimes to be around healthy people. It is easier for them to go run to be around someone else who is toxic because it's more comfortable in that environment. It doesn't call them out. It doesn't put the spotlight on them and their issues, all right? So they're going to find that as a safer situation. And Lord, forgive me, because again, hitting my spirit, some of y'all are doing that. I say that with love, no judgment, but it's real. Some of y'all are running from potentially great situations into comfortable bad ones, into men who you are accustomed to. There's a saying that some women have, excuse my language, but this is the way it's said. Some women have this thinking of, why leave this asshole to go be with another asshole? Let me just stay with the one I'm already with, that I already know, okay? And again, that's a very unhealthy mindset. You've got to get to a place where you remove those negative things, but we'll get into that later. The point is, again, being positive and loving will help expose that man a lot quicker. It will allow you to have more enjoyable experiences, even in moments where maybe things aren't meant to go any further than this, all right? As well as it will allow you to see if this person can connect with your true self. Because listen, that negative, scared person, that's who you are right now. But my prayer is by the time you're done with this video and taking certain steps, you're going to make progress and get to that next level of being healthy and happy. And so when that true self comes out, and if you can bring that out now in your dating process, you get to see which man can honor that. Because that's the thing. He has to be able to honor your positive and loving self. He has to be able to respect your positive and loving self. He has to be able to appreciate your positive and loving self. So we have to show that immediately because, again, believe it or not, if you are coming across negative, guarded, things like that, and let's just say you are dating a toxic man, and more specifically, you're dating a man who only is trying to have fun, trying to have sex with you, that's it. Well, that's not going to drive him away. In a lot of cases, the toxic man who's not, or the man who's not serious about trying to have a relationship is going to be less pushed away by your negativity because his goal is to sleep with you. And so to him, I don't have to tolerate this for too long. I just want to get what I want to get. The guy who's actually trying to have a serious relationship is going to put more weight on that, is going to more likely be pushed away from it. So it's important that you show up the right way to get the right results. And again, don't be afraid that he will take advantage of your sweetness. No, because you can be sweet, loving, positive, and still draw the line on what is acceptable and not acceptable in this relationship. All right, so we move on to number 2. And the second thing you can do to protect yourself from toxic men is not be afraid to ask for things. Now, listen, because I already know some of y'all minds are going to different places, all right? So let me clarify. When I say not being afraid to ask for things, a lot of you have reached a point in life where you have gotten used to doing things for yourself, all right? And you are proudly an independent woman. But I always say to have a successful relationship, you need interdependence, all right? And it's very easy for a woman who has become so used to and conditioned to her independence to have a conflict with sliding into an interdependent role. Interdependent being that you are able to rely on each other, count on each other, do for each other, all right? Yes, you could handle it yourself, but you shouldn't have to. All right. If he's going to be the man that you can share your life with, that you can join together with, then he has to show that he's capable of stepping up in certain areas. He has to show a willingness to do for you. And now, yes, some of you may say, well, why should I have to ask? He should just offer. Granted, he should be offering and looking for ways to be helpful. But if you give off the vibe that I always got it taken care of, or you constantly reject his offers, because that's the thing. As a woman who has gotten used to doing it herself, you may not have even realized how much you turn down his offers. All right. This is a very small example, but it shows you the mindset that happens here. Let's say carrying groceries. Let's say you guys are hanging out and every time you go grocery shopping, you carry your own groceries and he asks you, yo, let me carry that for you. And you always say, I got it. I got it. I can take care of it. I'm good. There will come a point where he will stop asking. Not because he's unwilling to do it, but you have repeatedly told him, I got this. I don't need you to do this. All right. And so now a man's not going to keep trying to push the issue. He's just going to let it go. And this happens at a greater level in so many ways. I was just speaking to a close friend at the gym, and we talked about a friend of his who's been going through some depression, a woman. And one of the issues that she expressed to him was feeling like nobody has her back, nobody checks on her. And what came to me to ask him was, is this a woman who they feel like always has it together? Because what I have seen in life, and this can happen to men and women, but we're talking about women here, is that when you become the rock in your family or in your friend circle, when you become the one that's always, I got this, and you're either afraid to ask for help or uncomfortable with it, or you shoot down help, people start to become conditioned to thinking you're always okay. I don't have to check on you. You're strong. You're going to be fine. Anytime I ask you if you need, nah, you good. You got it. And so we have to be very careful with it, that we're not creating the environment that we're going to end up resenting, that we're going to end up being frustrated by. And so now in romantic relationships, this happens all the time, where the woman starts off not wanting to ask, constantly declining, getting with the man, maybe even getting married. And now you're in an environment where he does not do for you like that, where he does not take initiative. So we've got to establish early that, no, that's not the way this goes. So yes, it doesn't mean you have to ask him for money, okay? It doesn't mean you have to ask him for crazy things that may make the situation uncomfortable. But it could be very simple things like, can you grab that for me? Can you carry this for me? And again, just to initially show that you're willing to accept his help. Now, if you do find yourself always having to ask and he never offers, we got a whole different problem right there. But I want you to get comfortable that when you genuinely need some help, ask. When you need him to pour into you, and it's not even just help or favors. If you need more from him as far as his efforts, you should be willing to ask. If, for example, you need to hear from him more often, you should not be afraid to ask him to reach out to you more, or to establish that this is a requirement for you, this is a need. Because again, he may not understand what you're looking to have poured into you. And by you being more transparent, this is going to be good for you to become comfortable in expressing your needs. And it's going to be good for him, if he's serious, to be able to pour into him. So now by doing this, you expose the toxic man, because when you ask and all he has is complaints and excuses, we got a problem. If he's going to make it this big old issue, we got a problem. If he's never actually doing what he says he will do, we got a problem. Do you see where we're going here? Because the toxic man is trying to do less for more. He is trying to minimize as much effort as possible to get as much as he can from you. So therefore, he will not take kindly to your request of any kind. But the guy who's serious would. So you will have an easier time seeing, can this man be what I need? And let me say this before we move on to the next point. It's not just about what you need today. It's about what you're going to need going forward. All right. So a lot of women say, but I'm fine. I am actually okay doing it myself right now. Cool. But are you going to be okay doing it yourself for the next 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, however many years? If you know that's not the type of relationship you want in the long term, you have to establish that early, because how you start can be how you will finish. And if you start off by making him think he does not have to do for you, then you're going to find yourself in a relationship where he's not doing a damn thing for you. All right, so, man, I like this video. This is some good stuff. I got to say so myself. But let's keep this going, okay? So the next one on this list of ways to protect yourself from toxic men while dating is waiting to have sex, all right? We gotta talk about it because it's real. And listen, I always want to acknowledge that I know for many people, the idea is, well, for many believers, the belief is, okay, we should wait till marriage. That should be understood and established. And I'm not disagreeing that that is the best approach to take overall. However, I acknowledge the fact that many will struggle to wait that long. I'm no different. I have struggled in my life. So I have to discuss this within the context of those who may not wait that long, but why you still should wait for at least a certain period of time. Now, what that period of time is, I'm not here to put an exact time frame on it. I'm not going to say 90 days, 120 days, or whatever. But what I will say is you have to wait long enough for you to be able to say with some level of confidence, I know what I'm getting myself into. That's part one. There's a couple other parts of this. But part one is, I know what I'm getting myself into. So let's give an example. If you have established, you need to establish with this man, where's he even trying to go with this? The last thing you should be doing is having sex with the guy before you even know if he wants a relationship or not, while you know you do. Now, if you want to be casual, that's one thing, all right? That's your choice as a grown woman. But if you know you're looking for something serious, then doing that before you know where his head is at is a huge mistake. And it's a setup for disaster for so many women and so much disappointment. So we have to know, okay, where are you trying to go? What are we doing here? Part two of it is, what kind of guy is he? Now, listen, I understand that we may not always know all the answers about this person. And we may, there's always things to learn sometimes about people because people aren't always as transparent as they need to be. But you have to have some bit of a foundation of, I have at least a decent idea of what kind of character, what type of individual this is. Now, granted, we can argue that, especially if he's a toxic man, that he can play a role, that he could try to make you think he's this kind of guy. But here's the thing. The majority of toxic, unhealthy men are not going to play the perfect role for months on end just so they can sleep with you, especially in today's world. What did I say in the last point? The toxic man wants to do less for more. He's not going to put his best foot forward. And when I say best foot forward, understand this. He may remain in your life in some capacity. Talk to you here and there. Maybe you link up for dates here and there. But he's not going to be consistent with his actions, on point, pouring into you all these things just to wait to have sex with you. That's not what's happening. All right. In the majority. Are there exceptions to the rule? Of course. There's always exceptions. But the majority of cases are not like that. So by waiting, you will weed out most of the men who are just there trying to play games and not be serious with you. Men who will wreak havoc in your life. All right. So by waiting, you give yourself time to expose how serious is he. But also, here's the other, and I argue this might be one of the biggest, outside of spiritual reasons, biggest reasons a woman should wait and people should wait, is because sex can cloud your judgment. And the reality is that once you start to have sex with this man, unless it's bad sex, then that might help set you free. Right? That might make it easier for you, right? But here's the crazy thing that I think a lot of women may not understand because a lot of women aren't being forthcoming about it. Plenty of women have become attached to men even with subpar sex. All right? Because it wasn't the quality of the sex that kept them there. It was the giving of themselves. It was the hope for more. It was the fear of being alone. It was the things that are attached to it, not actually the quality. So if a woman can get caught up and blinded by simply having it with a man, then you better believe if it's good, it's going to be a problem for most, okay? Let's just be real. It's going to be a problem. So now you have sex with this man too soon. You didn't know what kind of dude he was. You didn't know what he wanted, where he wanted to take this relationship, this situation. And now you're attached. And now those red flags start to look a little yellow because you're trying to look past it. You're trying to rationalize because you want to hang on to this great intimacy that he may be providing. And believe it or not, some men know how to use that to their advantage, to be that, to remain in your life while being a toxic presence. All right? They know you're attached to that, and they will use that to their advantage. So you've got to be careful for your sake and give yourself the opportunity to think clearly and see things for what they are. So by waiting, you help to at least minimize. It doesn't guarantee anything 100%, but it increases your chances of success and not getting caught up with a toxic or damaged man. All right, so now moving along to keep this going. The next thing on this list that you need to protect yourself from getting caught up with toxic men while dating is an accountability partner. Now, here's the reason why I felt it was very important to put this on this list. It's very easy for anybody, men and women, but again, we're talking to women, to break the rules and the boundaries that you said you would set in your life when you're caught up in the moment. All right? Your emotions get the best of you. Again, let's say you did cross the line sexually. That's getting the best of you. Just a desire of having someone there. There's so many things that can play a role. The pressure of society or family about you having a relationship, maybe you even having kids and you feel like, well, this is my chance. The pressure of age, all these things can cause an individual to start to settle, to start to be more lackadaisical or more relaxing their standards in a way that can become very unhealthy or that is unhealthy. And so by having an accountability partner, by knowing that someone is watching, it at least increases your chances of staying on the right track. Now, I understand not everyone has someone they can talk to. I'm going to have a solution for that at the end of this point. But for those of you who have, whether it be a good friend, your mother, your sister, whoever, someone that you can talk to and you can tell them, listen, check me on this. Be real with me. Be brutally honest with me. If you see me doing things I should not be doing, let's discuss the way we're supposed to. Let's discuss all these things in this video that we should be implementing. And if you see that I'm making the mistakes, let me know, and do not be afraid to be honest. And you have to agree to be receptive to what they have to say, because the reality is that a lot of women struggle being honest with their friends. Not all women, but there's a lot, because of how their friends react to their honest advice. All right. Now, of course, sometimes it's not about what they said, it's how they said it. So we know it's a two-way street when it comes to communication. But I have spoken to a lot of women who stopped trying to give guidance to their friend because they were just rejected, or they would get mad at them. And it's like, all right, to keep the peace, if that's what she wants to do, she's a grown woman. But that's not helpful to anybody. So you have to be accountable to being held in check, all right? And give that friend, family member, whoever, permission to do that. And stay on the right track. This is going to be extremely, extremely helpful to you, all right? And be honest about what's going on, because they can't hold you in check if you're gonna lie about what happened. You can't be acting like you didn't cross the line of having sex when you did, because now how's she supposed to help you, or he? Because let me say this, the accountability partner can be a he or she, But whether it's a he or she, here's a very important thing that has to be included in who you select. They have to be positive, healthy people. Now, I know that just eliminated some of the people out of all y'all lives, right? I know that just made it really hard, okay? But listen, and this is why, again, I'm going to have a solution for you, but we have to be very careful with taking guidance from people who are also coming from a very hurt, broken, damaged place. They may have good intentions, but they may be evaluating through their pain, and that does not allow them to see things clearly either. And therefore, they will give you bad advice. All right. They will interject themselves into the situation rather than understanding this is your situation, and they have to look at it from being in your shoes. All right. So be mindful of that. Now, if you do have some healthy, positive people around you, great, go to them. If you do not, my solution for you is take advantage and join my special coaching program. All right. Because in this group, you have other like-minded women who are all on the path to healing or have already healed and they're still in the program, who are bettering their lives, tapping into their feminine energy, learning how to heal, learning how to find their purpose, all these wonderful things and more, learning how to meet relationship-minded men, all right? It's going to change your life. So, and you get to talk to me twice a month, live coaching calls where you can have your questions personally answered. Go to receivingmyblessings.com. All right. Or click the link in the description or in the comment section and join today. You are going to love it. All right. So here's another one that's extremely important. Kind of mentioned it just a second ago, but let's dive deeper. The other way to protect yourself from toxic, damaged men is to heal from your past. All right. So, excuse me. The reality is that when we have not healed, when we are operating out of a place of brokenness, and please, when you hear me say brokenness, do not be offended by that. Or I hope you won't be. I hope you understand that it's just speaking to the reality that the hurt has broken pieces of us. It has made us struggle to function in a healthy way when we have not resolved it. All right. And because of this, becomes very likely for someone to now get with the wrong person. I've said many times that the person who has not healed is 99% likely to choose the wrong individual to be with. All right. Now, it may not be exactly 99%. I never did an official study, right? But from all my years of coaching, all my years of doing this, I'm pretty confident in saying if it's not 99, it's really close. Okay. And the reality is that because when you have been hurt and you haven't resolved it, well, you don't want to truly be vulnerable. There's a level of vulnerability that you may accept, but to really give yourself, you're gonna stop it at a certain point. And so now, the person that you would have a real connection with, the person that true love can exist here, that will make you feel too vulnerable. It will push you past the line. It will make you scared. It make you overwhelmed, and you will run for cover or you will sabotage the situation. So instead, you will end up entertaining the person who is good enough to be with, but doesn't take you all the way there because it feels emotionally safer. So now this is the perfect opportunity for toxic, damaged men to come into your life. It goes back to what I said earlier, how when we are operating out of brokenness and we have not resolved it, that it becomes more comfortable to be around other damaged, broken people. And to be around a healthy person feels like it's too difficult. You may feel inadequate, be intimidated. Now, what I hear, the voices I'm hearing in my head from people watching this is, well, everyone is broken. Everyone has issues. No one's really fully whole out here. No, stop with that. Stop with that. That's such in all due respect, it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out that people use to validate their own issues and do nothing about it, okay? Yes, I think it's fair and accurate to say that there's no one who has walked this earth who hasn't at some point been hurt, all right? I think we've all gone through things. But there are many, thousands, possibly millions of people who've done the work to heal. Now, does that mean that hurt will never come again? Of course not. Does that mean they may not have to go through a process of healing again? That they won't have to do it again? Of course not. It may come back around at some point, but as they stand right now, they have healed, and at the very least, healed to the point that those past experiences, hurts, and disappointments are not negatively impacting their present. Now, what I have to say is some of you may think it's not negatively impacting right now. Some of you may think, like I remember real quick, many years ago, to make a long story short, I had a woman who emailed me, and she had a boyfriend, the family didn't like him, and they were going through all these issues, and she didn't know what to do. And something in my spirit was like, there's something you're not telling me. Like you're asking me advice about this scenario, but there's something deeper that you're not being honest about. So this is all through email. And I told her that. I said, I feel something in my spirit is telling me there's something you're not telling me. What is it? What happened to you? And she said her father molested her. But she followed that with, but what does that have to do with anything happening now? And that's the thing. There are people who have detached their past traumas and hurts from what their life is right now, not understanding that it definitely correlates. It is having an impact. This guy that she was with, who, again, long story short, was not best for her, a lot of that stemmed from what she went through with her father and had not resolved. So we have to be mindful of not thinking that, oh, it's not playing any role here. If you haven't resolved it, it's playing some kind of a role. You have to be able to say, I addressed this, I faced this, I resolved this, I released this from my system. Then we can say, okay, cool, you're fine. Other than that, you got to do the work. So bottom line is, you want to avoid toxic men, you've got to heal. Because going back to my original statement when I opened this video up, though you can be a great woman and still have toxic damaged men come your way, if you are a woman holding on to past damage and hurt, yes, you will increase the chances of attracting more or constantly attracting nothing but toxic men. And even when the healthy man tries to come your way, it won't work because you're not at a place to receive that man. All right, so to be honest with you, I had a longer list, but I wanted to let things flow, and I went longer with some of these points, and I thought it just, it is what it is. So I'm gonna make a part 2 to this video in the future, but I'm gonna give you one more bonus one, all right? And like I said, there's many more things to discuss. We'll leave that for the other video, but here is the bonus thing you can do to avoid toxic men while dating. Don't give him any damn money. Do not give this man money. Now, here's why we got to talk about this, and I had to put this on here. One, let me start with the fact that in today's world, the rise of scammers is through the roof, all right? And I have endless stories of women meeting men who are asking them for money. Men who don't live in this country, sometimes men who do live in the country, sometimes men who live down your block, all right? It doesn't matter where they are, but these men are getting bolder and bolder with asking women for money. And here's the thing. Let me be real with y'all. I'm not a fan of, a man asking a woman for money. I'm not a fan of a woman giving him money, even in a relationship. However, I'm willing to make some level of an exception for that. If you have done your due diligence, you guys are committed to each other, you have evaluated, at least to the best of your ability, that he has good character and is reliable enough. If you want to give or loan whatever him some money, that's up to you. But if you're going to do it, do not give more than you're afraid to lose. Do not give more than it would cause you to become more attached. Because here is one of the problems. There's a lot of women who got, I hate using the word stuck, but who have struggled to walk away from a toxic, unhealthy man because you don't put too much money in the game. Women already have a hard time walking away from their investment in general, emotionally or whatever. But let's just say one story that comes to mind, you gave this joker $5,000. Some of y'all just gasped. Like, did she really just give $5,000? Yes, all right? $5,000. And it wasn't $5,000 that you could just throw away $5,000. No, it was $5,000 that it's going to hurt you if you don't get it back. And so now this same woman I'm thinking about, she did not want to completely end the relationship because she was afraid she was going to never get back her $5,000. So she kept holding on, trying to push things along, hoping she can squeeze the money out of him little by little so she can get her $5,000. Well, lo and behold, she never got her $5,000. And eventually she had to, it all blew up. I don't even think it was her who left initially. It was him who broke up with her. And it's just a whole nother story. The point is, it can cause a lot of problems. If you only give what you can walk away from, if you're going to give it. But the other reason why I had to add this on the list is because bottom line is, it's just I'm not saying it's impossible for a genuine guy who loves you to be in a situation where he may ask for money. And again, I think the guy who genuinely loves you, if he does ask, it would more than likely be after you guys are in a committed relationship and probably after he's already poured into you in that way as well. All right? But there are exceptions to every rule. But the point is, the guy who's comfortable to ask while you're just dating is more than likely trying to use you. Because as I've said in a different video, men, when they're trying to get with you, date you, move forward to a committed relationship, they want to impress the woman they're into. And men know innately that, and from what we've been told by society, that finance is a real issue with women. So to basically say to her, I'm so broke to where I have to ask you for money, the guy who's really into you is not likely to want to take that risk. He would rather go ask somebody else. And that's the thing. If this man is asking you and can't ask nobody else, that's already a sign he's either not good for it, all right, or he flat out wants to use you. Because if he was really an upstanding dude that is reliable, why doesn't he have anyone else he can go to? That should tell you something. But anyways, just avoid it. Again, in the dating process, I'm really against it completely. Once in a relationship, it is at your discretion. But again, make sure you can walk away from it. Make sure this is a guy that you're okay giving that money to. But ultimately, I would just leave it alone. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here. And I'll see you there. Some men will be lessons, and some men will just be a waste of your time. And one man will be the man that God has for you. And I want you to know that this man does exist, but you need to learn how to recognize him and